You ever open a book and suddenly you're not in your room anymore? You're somewhere else, somewhere fantastical, somewhere magical, somewhere just so beautiful that for that little time that you're reading that book, you live in fantasy. Well, that specific feeling right there, it's why I love fantasy as a genre. And honestly, I think it might be the most powerful genre there is. Fantasy has been a part of my life since I was a kid. The first book, one of the first books at least that I ever read was the Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And that book turned me into a fantasy lover. The book didn't just entertain me, it took me to a wardrobe, to a magical land that I could never visit in real life. I didn't even know what snow looked like at the time. And it honestly made me love things that I never thought that I would see someday. Again, like snow and waterfalls, things of the sort. But through that book, through that imagination trip, I was able to go to these places that, again, never thought I could make it to. And you can say that ever since then, I've been chasing the same feeling in every book that I read. And it doesn't only just goes for books. I think that's something that I also look for in graphic novels, aka comic books as well as TV shows. You know, I do love the fantasy world. I believe that what fantasy does better than any other type of book out there, it's the immersion. If the writer, which most of the time does a great job at transporting you to that land, you put on some like relaxing music or just sit in your room and you start reading those pages, you get teleported to that realm. New cultures, new creatures, new rules of reality, new rules of magic. Because magic is not just magic. There's like 1,500 ways that magic can work. And depending on the world that you're in and how the author explains it, that magic just hits differently every time. The magic from the Lord of the Rings is not the same as the magic from the Chronicles of Narnia. Even though it is under the umbrella of magic, it's not the same. Especially nowadays, sometimes life just feels like it's too much with the routine, with the stress. It gets heavy, you know? And then fantasy just blows that door open completely and he's like, it's okay, come here. Let me take you for a ride. And let's forget about the real world for a minute or two or an hour or 7. Bills, work, stress, uncertainty, pressure, all of that real life shenanigans just goes away. And I think that is the beautiful thing about fantasy. Fantasy lets me rest, it lets me reset. If I'm stressed out, if I'm just had a long day, sitting down with a good fantasy book, it's just And yeah, it could be argued that this could be the same for other genres, which I agree. Again, this is just my opinion, and I think that fantasy is the best, but it may be another genre that does the same thing for you. It doesn't mean that you're wrong. It doesn't mean that I'm wrong. It just means that that is what keeps you cozy, warm, and what takes you to whole other worlds. And I don't know if it's just me, but pairing a fantasy book with its audiobook, chef's kiss. You feel like you are in that quest, in that forest where you're supposed to go to, or that desert where you're supposed to go to, or that other planet with 6 moons and 14 suns. Okay, maybe that's a lot of celestial bodies, but you know what I mean. That fantasy plus that audio, it just kind of feels like you're in a dream that you can control. Like you're walking through a dream and somebody's like narrating it for you. I don't know, I just find that so magical. Fantasy does this really good job at reminding us as adults that imagination and wonder still matter. It's something that we kind of forget as kids, and as we know as kids and we forget as adults. And as you just start getting older and older, you just forget that wonder. Like if you're a kid and you're playing with your action figures, you make whole scenarios with them, or with your Barbies, you make whole ideas in your head about how everyone has a different voice, etc. And the closest thing to that, I believe, is reading a good fantasy book, because I don't know about you guys, but I like to make different voices for different characters. And again, if you pair with the audiobook, the audiobook helps you put a different voice to each character, which just kind of makes it easy on you. And this way you can just enjoy the ride. Deep down inside, we all wish that we can just escape to a fantasy world through a wardrobe, or just put on a magical ring that will take us somewhere else. It's just something that we desire as human beings, because although we know better that these things are just fiction or work of fiction, we like to believe that, hey, maybe, you never know. Fantasy doesn't just give us magic, it gives us possibilities. And as adults who sometimes forget to wonder and dream, I think that is just beautiful. Take Neil Gaiman's The Ocean at the End of the Lane, for example. It talks about childhood. It talks about a guy who goes back to his hometown and he starts remembering things that he hasn't remembered for so long. Why? Because when you get older, you forget. You forget how magical everything was. You forget how everything was just so much easier. You don't have anything to worry about except your imaginary friends or your imaginary lands or your destinations, or how that piece of wood was a sword that could save the whole kingdom. And then, I may sound like a broken record, but in the Chronicles of Narnia, the kids were escaping war at the time. And the best way to do it was to go into a fantasy world. And I think that's just a great way to put a contrast between war and fantasy, which C.S. Lewis did a fantastic job with. Recently, I have started my journey into the Cosmere, which is Brandon Sanderson's books, and I'm about halfway done with Mistborn. And let me tell you, the way he has crafted this universe and how he has created a whole set of magic and superpowers that I have honestly never seen anywhere else, it's doing it for me again. And that's what inspired me to make this video, because as I'm reading this book, I'm thinking to myself, I am smiling from ear to ear. I'm enjoying this. I'm believing again. It's beautiful. Like, I had almost forgotten why fantasy was my favorite genre, because I love horror as well. I do. If you guys have seen any of my videos, you can probably figure that out about me by now. I know this video is not about Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn, just something that I wanted to bring up because it really inspired me to make this video. Because that's what books do. They inspire you. They make you wonder again. It's making me want to write again, like some of my own stories, some of my own short stories. And that is just priceless. When I think about all the stories throughout my life that stuck with me the most, they weren't about real world or history or anything of the sort. Yes, it is important to know history, and yes, it's important to also sometimes stay grounded in the realm of nonfiction. But the ones that really stuck with me the most are the ones that took places in this fantastical world where I wished I could have been part of. I don't need another reminder of how messed up the world is. I just want to have hope. And I want to know that somewhere out there may be the possibility of adventure. And fantasy gives you that. That's why of all the genres, fantasy is the one that I keep coming back to. Because fantasy is a state of mind. Fantasy is what keeps us going. Think about it. Someone's greatest invention probably started out of an idea. Something that thought, hey, that's impossible. It's fantastical. And guess what? The next day, it's an invention. So now I ask you, what is your favorite genre in books? Is it fantasy? Is it horror? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comment section below. And what was that first book, that story? It doesn't even have to be a book. It could be a TV show. It could be anything at all that introduced you to that world. And it made you say, holy crap, these are the kind of adventures I want to be into for the rest of my life. There is no wrong answer. It's about you. Just like this is my opinion, you can have your own. All I want to do is start the conversation and get us going about creativity, because one of the main reasons that I want to put my thoughts out there is to get people talking and get people into these fantastical worlds. Maybe you have never read a book because you are overwhelmed by the words or the amount of pages. Or maybe you've never seen a movie or a series of movies because you're like, you know what, I don't have time to watch 3 Lord of the Rings movies, plus the other ones that I just have no time. But sometimes taking that time, it's worth it. And you're never gonna know what it's gonna get you hooked into your next big obsession. And again, if you are a fantasy reader, what did it for you? Was it Narnia? Was it Harry Potter? Lord of the Rings? What was it? Even if you're new to the genre and you're just getting started, let me know what was that book that got you into it. Again, no wrong answers. And if you are not a fantasy reader yet, little side note, what's stopping you? Pick up something from your library. You don't even have to buy it if you want to commit all the way. pick something up and get into the beautiful world of fantasy. I promise you, it'll be worth your time. If you enjoyed this video, please consider to like and to subscribe to my channel. Just basically what I do. Just talk about books, go on walks, and lately I've just been focusing on my reading journey. And if you guys want to watch the 12 books that I picked to read this year, I'll leave a card somewhere up there for you guys to check out as well. Guys, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day or night, whatever time you're watching this at. And remember, grab a good book and enjoy the adventure. You're awesome, and don't forget, you are needed and loved. And without you, this world wouldn't be the same. Have a good one. Stay awesome, and go read a good book. See you later.